Hey there, guys. Monday, President's Day, stock markets are closed, but some of the other things are trading. What I wanted to do was, I'm not trading today, obviously, but I wanted to take some time to cover the gold miners. We had some pretty big movements in Barrick Gold last week, and so I thought I'd take this time to go through some gold stocks, some various gold miners. We'll look at silver a little bit and chart some of the big mining companies. I can't go into all the juniors and everything because there's quite a few of them, but we'll cover a couple. One in particular that I'm invested in, and then we'll stick to kind of the majors just to give us an overall general theme or premise of potentially where gold miners will go. If the majors go a certain way, the juniors should outperform that move. So that's really all we need to say about that. So let's get into it. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Again, subscribe to the channel if you guys are finding value. I analyze charts, I break them down, I use technical analysis to really make my decisions for me. There's a little bit of fundamental analysis that plays into kind of the sectors that I look into. One of the reasons why I'm interested in gold and gold miners comes down to the fundamental analysis. But, the charts are all technical. I don't really analyze earnings for a company or anything like that. It's really just comes down to what the chart's telling me the stock is going to do. So hit that subscribe button. Give me a like. Let's get into the gold miners. All right, so we're going to start off with gold bullion. We want to start out with kind of just the base metal to get an idea of where that's heading. And, if the base metal is moving in a certain direction, the miners should outperform that move. So we'll go ahead and look at that. Here's gold bullion. Here's the chart. This is a weekly chart. And really what we've got here is the all-time highs in gold is right around 1900. And I think a weekly close was 1884. And we're just right above that level. So you can see here's your plateau of the all-time high. And if you roll out here, we're closing weekly above that. We've had several closes above it. What we really need to see is kind of a launch off of this level. We don't want to hang around. If this is going to move higher, you don't want it to just kind of hang around here for too long. I mean, it's okay to be above it, and we're consolidating and building consolidation. Okay, as I was saying, so we're above this resistance of 1564 on the weekly chart. That's really what it is. You can see back here. Here's where we held the support. So it's right around that level. And we're holding above that. But we're just barely above it. So what I would expect to see is gold to really start to lift off. If it's going to hold above this support range and start to push up, most likely breaking the all-time high, 1900. I think if we get a lift off from here, we're going to start to move higher. So if you go back to the bigger picture and I roll out, you can see that gold is in, is in a bull market basically, but here's your bear market, and then it looks like it's trying to make the next leg higher. Now, this could be a long bull market. This could be 10 years or so of prices just moving higher. If the chart is telling me anything that tells me this is a big rounding bottom here that we pointed out, go ahead and Google that. But, and if I can find my marker, you can see that, it is, let's see, right here, you've got this rounding bottom like that. And here's your neckline is, your neckline, we could call your neckline right here, 1564. And so if we break above this, boom, you should see prices above 1900 and move higher. So that's bullion. Moving on, we got Barrick Gold here. So Barrick had good earnings, which is expected because the price, a lot of these big miners are priced for $1,200 gold, $1,300 gold, $1,100 gold, and they've got close to $1,600 gold. So that's all profit. And you're seeing with the big miners, Barrick and Newmont, they both announced dividend increases. So they're starting to pay some of that profit back to the shareholders, and you get a big move on that. And so here's your week. Here's last week, just a big, nice, solid kind of ignition candle week. And if we roll out to the daily, You can see this was resistance. We had it here at 1900. I've been pointing it out for a while. We just cleanly broke above that volume. See your volume right here? Got increased volume on the breakout. So people see this and they're getting excited, enthusiastic, and participating in this price action. So this looks good. I mean, it's got all the signals of a confirming breakout. So now we've got this next peak of 1998, which is the kind of that former peak right there. We should get there next week. If we don't gap up there on Tuesday, I think we'll probably get there. So at this point, we'll have to see, but at this point, support is going to be this 1900, and resistance is about $20. We go to the hourly just to define this on a little bit of a tighter time frame. Here's your hourly. You can see we kept trying to pop this level. We got there. We tried to pop it here, failed. And then this one, we popped it, and then a little fake out move where it popped it, went above, started to sell off, and then boom, and look at the volume. The sell off, really low volume, not a lot of participation, and then the buyers step in force, and there's volume there. So looks good there. Barrick's bullish. Barrick's going higher. I had this trend line marked out right. We had it marked out right about there, and that was a valid trend line. I was adding to the position every time we got to the trend line there, but now we've this pattern is is over, I believe, and now we're into this new pattern where we're probably going to have this sideways trading channel and possibly moving higher. So that's Barrick. Let's look at gdxj. Yeah, Peter Schiff, we got it. He wants us to invest with Euro Pacific Capital. Okay, so gdxj. Oh, and then let's go back here. Let's look at the RSI real quick. I don't know why I don't have the RSI up on this one. We'll have to. I'll have to cover that in another chart. Let's look at the gdxj. This is the junior minor ETF. I want to kind of evaluate this one. So what I see a bull flag in this one. So here's your flagpole right here. Let's mark it out. And this is a weekly chart, so a big chart. Here's your flagpole, here's your flag, and here's a breakout. So I suspect if this is going to play out, we're going to get a move the distance of the flagpole. It's a good size move. That's a 50% move in the GDXJ. So this could easily go up $10 up to $40 or so. And that's what I see on the weekly. Let's go to the daily here. Flagpole, here's your bull flag. Impulsive breakout of the bull flag too. So that's something to look at. You've got the flagpole and here's your flag. So you've got a lot of traders watching for a breakout of this flag. It's a bullish pattern. So you got the flag and you're just waiting for the breakout for confirmation to buy. But stocks don't often give you the best opportunity for entry, and boom, gap higher. So anybody who wanted to be long, if they were going to get long, they had to get long way up here, way away from risk. And then anybody who, that's basically it. But anybody who wanted to be long, and if anybody was getting short this flag pattern, which I wouldn't when you have such a bullish pattern, but if you were getting short up at resistance, then you got gapped higher and kind of took you out right there. And then it did a back test. So this was actually your most objective entry right down here on this day. And we still didn't get down near risk, which is this resistance support level right there. But that's just a positive sign for the long end, because boom, when you gap higher like that, good volume on the gap, then that's a breakout basically. And so this is still a bullish pattern, even though we're just consolidating sideways. I suspect, what I'd look for is a break back up to the level right here of this breakdown candle. So up around 32.90, and then eventually a breakout higher above that. So bullish chart there on GDXJ. Let's look at the GDX. Here's a weekly chart. You've got resistance / support. This is support now, 25.40. And you can see here's again bull flag pattern. So here's your flagpole, here's your flag, and then here's your breakout. Let's narrow it down and see what the breakout actually looks like. Gap higher right there, right at the breakout. but nothing crazy. And you could probably adjust this line slightly. Let's go to the hourly, get a little granular, a little more granular. Not sure why that line didn't carry over, but that's okay. We'll draw it out. Not the cleanest line. It's this is an ETF, so maybe something like that. I don't know. But if you go to the daily, you can see on the daily, got a couple tags here. It's not the best resistance line. There's not a lot of data points. So at this point, I would just say that the price action back here with this flag and then the breakout, and now we're consolidating. I think we're going to break higher. It looks good to break higher. NUGT, I did this one. This is the 3 times leverage bull mining ETF. Let me close this stuff. For some reason, every single video chart has these advertisements on it. Rounding bottom here. This is a daily chart, so here's your rounding bottom. So you look for a break of the neckline. I would say, and here's some resistance right here. You've got a tag right here, and a tag right here. So basically a break above this is going to be very bullish. You've got the consolidating rounding bottom and a break above. That should be confirming. Look for volume as well, a break above with volume, and that is going to set this thing in motion to move higher. So I suspect, right now we're in kind of no man's land. This could easily come back down, and it's not really tradable right here at these levels. But if I would say, if I had to pick something, I would say it's going to probably break higher, and that's just because of all the other charts. Sorry, I had to pause it again. Also, you've got this little support line, it looks like, right about there. Let me mark that out a little cleaner. Right about there. So, this, as of right now, we'll just watch this support line. And, if we're down here and you want to take a long, then maybe that holds and we shoot all the way up to there. That's a good move. That move from down here all the way up here is a 13% move. So might be a good trade. But again, you got to kind of watch. You'd have to be really quick on the trend line here. If it holds, we could run higher. And if it doesn't, then you're going to want to go ahead and get out, because this chart here is in kind of no man's land. It's right in the middle of the range, so could easily just have a nice strong down day and run down to this support down here, which is also a gap. I put this line out here because there's a gap right there. So if it wants to gap fill down at $23, that would be a good level to buy right there. This is a junior that I have, Sabina Gold and Silver Corporation. I started buying it around 89 cents a while ago, back here, and it's had a nice run. I actually sold most of my position around 155, 156, and some I actually sold at 170, and right on this launch right here, and it got to 172, and that was it. So that was actually a pretty good place to sell. And then I started buying it back as we started to fall back down to the support right down here at this 119, 125. I started allocating it right around there. So I'm up just slightly. It's at 129. But you've got this resistance line right here, and we broke above it, and we've just been back testing. So here's a back test. Here's a back test right there, and it's starting to kind of roll over. Maybe it wants to do another back test. And you can just backtest for a while. So, but still a bullish pattern because it's a bull flag. Here's your flag pull. Here's your flag. Here's your breakout. We backtest. Eventually, we start to run higher. At least high probability that's what it wants to do. Again, this is a spec play, so I don't allocate. I mean, gold miners in general can be a spec play, but I choose to play more of the larger miners with a larger position, and the smaller miners, the juniors, I take kind of smaller position sizes. Because if you're right on these, you don't need a big position to make a lot of money. Yeah, sure, it'd be nice to have a big position and be right, but these things can equally go against you, and they can just be a savage burn. So it's too much risk for me personally to take large positions in guessing which junior's the right one. So I play gold mostly with the majors, and I sprinkle sprinkle positions on some of the juniors. Moving on, silver. Let's go ahead. Or actually, we'll come to silver. We'll come to silver last. Let's go ahead and look at the next one, which is Anglo Eagle. This one's interesting. This is company specific, but it had a bad earnings report. I don't know what happened. I think it had a mine closed down or something, some kind of issues with this. Big move on for Friday, down 15%. Big gap down and continued selling. Volume, lots of volume. Here's your volume right here. So pretty bearish action on this one right here. So what are we looking for? Well, looking for where's this support. So you can see right here, you've got a tag here, a tag here, and then right here, if I zoom in, so this was support, excuse me, and you can see the green line. So it opened above support and held just for one candle, and then it broke. Here's your breakdown right there. And then when it broke, it was just the floodgates opened up and it was all selling. So pretty bearish at this point. I could see a kickback rally where it wants to kick back up to this 51.70 and tag it. But at this point, it's below resistance. So the next support line that I can really find, you've got some vertical lines here. I don't have those marked out. We can mark those out. It's right about there. It's not super clean. Oh, that actually falls right there as well. This also looks like there's a slight support. You got a gap right here, actually. I didn't notice that. Here's a gap right there. Market loves to fill gaps. So let's take a look at that. Maybe that's the next area. We could easily, gap down, gap fill, and then run up and do a back test. So that could be a potential trade, and that would be a nice trade. I mean, if you get the gap and you back test, maybe that's a 7.5%. Not bad. So maybe I'll look at that. That might be a trade that I'll be interested in. And if it breaks the gap and continues lower, then I suspect, let me go to the daily. You can just see how I kind of chart these and analyze these. You got another gap right there. Oh, look at that. Here's a gap right here. If I draw this out, so you got support. Look, there it is right there. See the gap? So you've got, there's a gap. So that's support right there. This gap right here. So this is actually a good area if you wanted to buy this one. I might actually be buying this thing if I can get it down here at this 48.51. I suspect maybe we get there on a gap down on Tuesday, and that's a spot where buyers will most likely be stepping in. If we break that level, then the next support I see is going to be down here at this $40 range, somewhere right in here. So that's interesting. Symbol AEM. Look at that. And here's your RSI. Pretty oversold down at 2264. So that's way oversold. So if it gaps down, that's a great spot. You're way oversold. You're at support. That's everything you want to see when trying to establish a position long. So moving on. Newmont, this one is a lot like Barrick. You could play this one. Bullish price action here. You've got a falling or a descending triangle, which broke to the upside. Usually these things actually break to the downside, usually a higher probability. But this one broke to the upside, and you can see. Look at this chop zone right here. You see that a lot of the time when it's about to make a move out of a pattern. So it's faking you out because here's your breakout, then it sells off, it's gapping up, it's going down, it's up, it's all over the place. Money's just basically being lost trading all over the place when you're in this kind of chop zone here, and then it boom makes the big move. So this thing, whether it wants to backtest or not, I suspect we're going to at least get up to this 56.25 level. And if I go to the weekly, you can see that's up here. Actually, where I get this target here is the measured target. Basically, you've got a flag. This is like a pennant basically, and here's your flagpole right there, and then you've got the pennant, which is here, and then you've got the breakout. So when you break out, you measure the. You can either there's two things you excuse me. Two things you can do: measure the widest part of the flag or the flagpole. But here's the widest part of the flag, and that puts us basically up about 1640, and then here's your breakout, and that's about 1640 or so. So that's where I got that target. The target would be 56.25. Probably a little. You'd want to step in maybe a little bit early and sell that if you're long, but gold is bullish, so there's no point in necessarily selling even when you hit price targets if you're trying to build a long swing position or a long-term position, because the larger charts are all in a bull market. So Freeport-McMoRan, this company does copper and gold, and so that's kind of a mix. But they're more of a gold company, but they bought Phelps Dodge back 20 years ago or something, and that's where they got a lot of their copper positions, copper mines out of Arizona and stuff. So this one's interesting. It's just in this downward price channel. So what I'd look for is if we can break above this trend line here, and this is a daily chart. If we break above this trend line right here, then we should run up to the next resistance, which is up here around this $19 depending on when we actually get there. And I get that resistance if I go to the weekly. You can see there it is right up there. So you've got several tags on the weekly, 4 actually, and it's this downward channel. So I think we probably get there. I think this probably breaks higher and runs up and tags this this level right there. It's a good, nice little breakout, nice trade if we actually get there. That's a 44% move. So pretty big move. That would put this thing up around 18, 19 bucks, 18 to 19 bucks in that range. And right now we're sitting at 12. So I'm interested in that one as well. If this wants to break, but I'm only really interested if we get a breakout of this price channel. Otherwise, I'd maybe look at buying this thing long down here at support. Here's your, all over the place with these charts. Here's your support right here. So if I buy this down here, that's a good level to kind of build a position. And this could break out. You kind of have to throw this big dip out. So this dip is kind of the market breaking down and kind of a complete breakdown of the market. And that just happened back when commodities took a real hit back in 2016. So, but that's like a V bottom. So if you kind of throw that out, you'll get more of a normalized price action. That's just something to kind of take notice of. And yeah, so this actually looks good for a long. I would wait for a breakout of this price channel or buy it down near support. Okay, Anglo Gold Ashanti. This one I had a price target at 30.50. This one is kind of, you have this support line right here. This is a weekly chart. If we go to let's go to the daily. There's your support line. We're right at support, so not bad. And this is an ascending triangle. This typically resolves to the upside. So if this opens anywhere near this 1896 level, is actually a good area you could potentially add for a break above this 23 resistance. And if we break above 23 resistance, then I've got a price target of 30.54. So nice trade there if it wants to do that. That's a 58% gain. Now these aren't day trades; these are swing trades, but something to keep an eye on. This does look like a good trade there. All right, let's get into silver, and then we'll look at the dollar, and we'll wrap. Silver is all over the place. It's kind of a sloppy chart. I use gold. I use gold usually to chart silver. They typically move in the same direction. Silver oftentimes will swing either up or down more than gold will, but you can use gold as kind of your barometer to give you a good navigation on where this thing might go. So what do I see here? Well, I see a flag. It's a bull flag. Here's your flag. Not a huge flag, but there's your flag, flagpole, sorry. And then here's your flag, and we're just consolidating in this flag. So a break above puts us to the measured target of the flagpole, basically, there of $1.78. And so depending on when we actually break above, that's going to put us up around this 1835 range, which happens to be the top of this last move, which is right up around there. It's interesting how this kind of works out, but it's computers and algorithms trading these things, so they just run on math, and that's why these things line up mathematically. So yeah, a break above this flag, and you've got a breakout all the way to 1835. So silver looks good. I mean, it does look good. If we get a breakout of this flag, I'd say there's a potentially good move coming in silver. And this is SLV. So again, this is just the SLV chart, which is a silver ETF. But that's a 10% gain in silver. We could easily get there. Moving on, let's look at the dollar. Dollar's been strong recently. A lot of buying in the dollar. I think that's a big bid for bonds. I've been reading there's a huge bid for bonds, and that isn't necessarily positive for the stock market. That's a safe haven play. And again, gold and bonds have both been pretty strong in this market. So stocks have been strong, gold's been strong, bonds have been strong. One of these markets is wrong, whether it's gold and bonds or the stock market. One of these markets is wrong, and someone's going to get burned here. I suspect it's the stock market. I suspect bonds and gold are right, and the stock market is kind of just in greed mode, basically, where people are just buying without thinking about earnings and whatnot. But dollar's been strong. We're pretty much at resistance right here. This level right here, I suspect we fail right here and start to roll over, and that would be positive for gold. But gold's been strong even with a strong dollar, so that says a lot about the strength of gold right now. So yeah, we're at resistance. If we fail here, again, we got a line down here, and this is kind of the range right now, is up around this trend line and down here. So that's really what I'm watching. That's it, guys. Long video, but a lot of content. Feel free to just pause, run through it, draw out these trend lines. It's good to have these trend lines. If you're trading these things, you want to have these things marked out so that during the day when a stock is trading near your support or resistance level, if something starts to break out or break down, you can take action quickly and limit your risk and limit your losses or maximize your gains. And so this is kind of it for gold and gold miners. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for following along. Leave me a comment below if there's a junior that you're interested in, or if there's some sort of other gold miner that you're interested in. Where do you think gold's going? Let me know. Thanks. Bye.